The first lie he ever told me was that freedom didn't matter when you had love. The second was that he would never hurt me. I met Ethan in the most ridiculous way possible. I was broke, working late shifts at a dingy bar in downtown Chicago, and he walked in wearing a suit that looked like it had cost more than my entire year's rent. He didn't belong there, his crisp white shirt, the subtle cologne that lingered when he passed, the way the bartender tripped over her words trying to serve him. He should have been at a rooftop lounge, not in a place where the jukebox stuttered and the neon lights buzzed like dying bees. And yet, his eyes found me. Not the waitress in heels, not the businessman slurring in the corner booth, but me with my rolled-up sleeves, carrying a tray of cheap beers. "Do you drink?" he asked, his voice smooth, low, almost mocking. "Only when someone else is paying." I shot back, and the corner of his mouth lifted like I had passed a test I didn't know I was taking. That night, he left a tip so generous the manager accused me of stealing. But it wasn't the money that hooked me, it was the way he leaned close when I returned his change, the way he studied me like I was worth the effort. Nobody had ever looked at me like that before. Ethan made it too easy. The roses on my doorstep, the late-night drives in his sleek black car, the city lights flashing across his face as if they belonged to him, the wine always red, always expensive, the kind that stained my lips and left me dizzy. And the words, God, the words. He knew how to wield them like weapons. "You're different. You're the only one who understands me. I don't need anyone else. Just you." I wanted to believe him. I did believe him. For a while, love felt like freedom, like I had stepped out of the gray world I was born into and stumbled into color. I had grown up in silence in a house where affection was rationed like food stamps, where my father worked double shifts and my mother drowned her dreams in bitterness. Ethan was everything that life had denied me. Charm, wealth, devotion. He saw me, or at least he pretended to. But the golden cage doesn't show its bars at first. Started small. He hated when I worked late, said it was beneath me. "Why let those drunk idiots leer at you when you don't need to?" he asked. And he was right. With the money he slipped into my pocket, I didn't need the bar job. So I quit. Then he hated when I went out with friends. "They don't get you like I do. They'll drag you down," he murmured, tucking a strand of my hair behind my ear. And maybe he was right. Most of my friends were broke, bitter, chasing dreams that never seemed to land. What did they offer me that Ethan couldn't? So I stopped going. Piece by piece, the world shrank until it was just him and me, his apartment with the skyline view, his car with the tinted windows, his arms around me so tight I sometimes couldn't breathe. And when I realized I missed the air, it was already too late. The first fight happened 6 months in. I had stepped outside to take a call from my best friend, Leo, someone Ethan never liked. When I walked back inside, Ethan was waiting with that look, the one that could melt or freeze me depending on how he chose to use it. "Who was it?" he asked. "Leo," I said carefully. "Leo," he repeated, like the name was poison. "Didn't I tell you he's jealous of us? He doesn't want you happy. He's my friend." His jaw tightened. "I'm your future." That night, he apologized with lilies and whispered promises. But the argument lodged in my chest like glass, and every time I looked at him, I wondered if love should feel this heavy. Yet I stayed. God help me, I stayed. Because leaving Ethan felt impossible, like tearing out a piece of myself. Love is a tricky kind of prison. You decorate the bars yourself. One evening, weeks later, he brought me to a dinner party in a penthouse that reeked of money and power. Everyone there wore masks of civility, trading compliments like currency. Ethan introduced me not as his boyfriend, not even as his partner, but as someone special, cut deeper than I expected. When I confronted him later, he brushed it off. "You don't understand how this world works. People wouldn't get it. I'm protecting us. Protecting us." Another lie. But lies wrapped in silk are still lies. The breaking point didn't come with shouting or violence. It came quietly in the way most prisons do. I woke up one morning to find my phone gone from the nightstand. When I asked, Ethan said, "You're too distracted by it. It's better this way." Better for who? I didn't answer him that day. I just sat on the edge of the bed, watching sunlight spill through the tall windows, realizing that even in all this beauty, this apartment, this view, this man who said he loved me had never felt so trapped. And then came the night I almost ran. Leo showed up at the building, buzzing the intercom until I answered. His voice shook through the static. "This isn't you. He's cutting you off from everything. You have to see it." Ethan yanked the intercom cord from the wall, his eyes wild. "Don't listen to him," he hissed, grabbing my wrist. His grip hurt, but what terrified me more was the desperation in his face, as if I was already halfway out the door. For the first time, I thought maybe I am, because love isn't supposed to feel like chains. It isn't supposed to make you smaller. And yet, every time I tried to imagine leaving, the cage gleamed brighter, and I wondered if freedom was worth losing everything I thought I had. But deep down, I knew. That was the moment the cracks began to spread, when the golden bars around me started to bend. The cracks didn't shatter everything all at once. They spread slowly, silently, like water seeping into stone until it freezes, until it bursts. After that night with Leo at the intercom, Ethan tried harder than ever to cover the bars of the cage with velvet. He cooked dinner himself, something he had never done before, burning the pasta but laughing so hard about it that I almost forgave him. He took me to the lake, where the water shimmered gold at sunset and the gulls wheeled above us. He kissed me as if we were the only two people in the world. But underneath the softness, I felt it. The tremor of panic every time I glanced at the door, the way his eyes darted to my phone if I touched it, the possessiveness hidden in every compliment. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me," he whispered one night, tracing circles on my arm. "Don't ruin it by letting people get between us." I wanted to ask, people like Leo? People like anyone who isn't you? But I didn't. Because if I did, I knew we would fight again, and fights with Ethan were dangerous in their quietness. He didn't yell. He didn't strike. He simply froze me out, his silence like ice, until I crawled back into his warmth for relief. It was brilliant in a terrible way. Weeks passed like that, the tension curling tighter. I told myself I was imagining things. That all couples fought, all lovers demanded pieces of each other. That love required sacrifice. But then I saw him with her. It was at a gallery opening. Ethan had insisted on dragging me along, though I hated the polished crowd. He walked me through the exhibit, hand heavy on my back, guiding me like a possession. And then her. A tall woman with red lipstick and a laugh that carried across the room. She touched his arm in a way too familiar, her body leaning into his like it belonged there. I froze. "Who is she?" I asked later when we were alone in his car. "No one," he said smoothly. "A client. You're overreacting." But the way he avoided my eyes, the way his hands tightened on the steering wheel, it told me the truth. Maybe she wasn't someone, but she was something. A reminder that I wasn't the only person who could fall for his roses, his wine, his cage disguised as love. And God, it hurt. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in his bed, staring at the ceiling while he breathed steadily beside me, and I realized for the first time how easy it would be to walk out. The door wasn't locked. My clothes were in the closet. The world was still out there, but so was he. And when dawn came, Ethan rolled over, pulled me close, and whispered against my skin, "I don't ever want to lose you. How do you leave someone who says that like he means it?" The push and pull tore me apart. One moment I hated him, the next I wanted him more than breath. I thought about Leo's warning every day, but when I tried to call him, Ethan always found a way to interrupt, suddenly needing me, suddenly planning something for us. Then came the night of the storm. Rain slammed against the windows, the city a blur of lights in the downpour. I was curled on the couch, watching lightning streak across the sky, when Ethan came home. He was soaked through, his shirt clinging to his chest, his hair dripping. He looked raw, undone, more human than I had ever seen him. Without a word, he dropped to his knees in front of me, took my hands and said, "Don't leave me." The words cracked something open in me. For the first time, I saw the fear behind his control, the boy inside the man who built cages out of gold. "What are you so afraid of?" I whispered. Everything, he breathed. That if I don't hold on tight enough, you'll see I'm not enough. That you'll leave, and I'll be nothing again. His voice shook. Ethan, the man who walked into every room like he owned it, was trembling in front of me. I should have pulled away. I should have told him love wasn't supposed to feel like chains. But instead, I cupped his face, kissed his wet hair, and promised, I'm not leaving, because I was weak, because I still loved him. But loving someone doesn't make them right for you. The next morning, the cage was tighter than ever. He bought me a gold bracelet, slid it onto my wrist, and said, So you'll always remember who you belong to. It glittered in the sunlight, felt like shackles. I tried to hide my unease, but Ethan noticed. He always noticed. Why do you look at me like that? He demanded one evening when I pulled away from his kiss. Like what? Like you're scared of me. Maybe because I was. That night I dreamed of Leo, of laughter in cheap diners, of running down streets with no destination, of air that didn't feel heavy in my lungs. When I woke up, Ethan was watching me, his eyes unreadable in the dark. You were smiling in your sleep, he said flatly. Was it about me? I lied. Of course I lied. Because telling the truth would have destroyed me. But truth has a way of clawing out. The very next week, I bumped into Leo in the city. I had slipped out while Ethan was on a business call, desperate just to breathe for a while. And there Leo was, standing in line at a coffee shop, looking so shocked to see me it almost broke me. You look different, he said, studying me like I was a ghost. Thinner, tired. I'm fine, I lied again. No, you're not. He's killing you. His voice was soft, urgent. I know you think it's love, but it's not. It's a cage. The word hit me like a slap. Cage. The exact thing I had been trying not to name. I wanted to run into Leo's arms right there, to beg him to save me. But Ethan's shadow lingered in my mind. His voice, his eyes, his grip. And I knew if he ever found out I had seen Leo, there would be no velvet covering the bars anymore. So I promised Leo nothing. Just whispered, Please don't make this harder, and left. But something shifted after that. The lies tasted bitter. The roses smelled like rot. Even the wine burned instead of warming me. And Ethan noticed. He always noticed. One night, he cornered me in the kitchen. His hand braced against the wall by my head. His eyes searched mine, sharp, desperate. You don't love me anymore, he said. Not a question. A verdict. I do, I whispered. Then why do I feel you slipping away? Because I had to. But I didn't answer. Couldn't. His jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw the possibility of violence flicker in his eyes. Not yet, not acted on, but there. A shadow of what love can curdle into when it's poisoned by fear. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to his breathing, and I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of losing him anymore. I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. The realization that I was afraid to stay hit harder than any fight ever could. Once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. You can pretend, you can drink the wine, wear the bracelets, smile at the roses, but underneath, the truth beats louder and louder until it drowns out everything else. And Ethan knew it. He started watching me more closely. Every movement, every glance at the door, every hesitation before I kissed him. His devotion turned sharp-edged, his sweetness edged with suspicion. One evening, I was curled up with a book on the couch when he came in carrying a bottle of wine. I barely looked up. You don't drink anymore, he said softly, setting it on the table. I'm not in the mood, I answered, keeping my voice even. His hand brushed my cheek, but it didn't feel tender anymore. Felt like a test. You used to love sharing wine with me. I used to love a lot of things, I murmured before I could stop myself. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. His eyes darkened, and for a heartbeat, I thought he might strike me. But he didn't. Instead, he smiled, that cold, polished smile that never reached his eyes. You're tired. That's all. But we both knew it wasn't all. The next morning, my gold bracelet was missing. I hadn't taken it off, hadn't hidden it. I woke to find it gone, as if it had never existed. When I asked, Ethan only shrugged. Maybe it slipped off, he said. Maybe you don't need it anymore. The words should have set me free. Instead, they terrified me. Because if he was willing to remove the symbol of my belonging without explanation, then he was willing to change the rules of our cage whenever he pleased. That was when I started planning. Quietly, secretly. Not escape, at least not yet. But breathing space. I began walking farther when I went out for groceries, memorizing the side streets, the subway entrances, the corners where I could disappear if I needed to. I started keeping a little cash tucked away in my jacket pocket, just in case. Felt like treason, but it also felt like hope. Then Leo called again. Somehow, my phony secret lifeline buzzed in my hand before Ethan could catch me. Meet me, Leo said, his voice urgent. Tonight. Anywhere. Just tell me you'll come. My heart thundered. I glanced toward the closed bedroom door, where Ethan was still asleep. I can't, I whispered. You have to, Leo pressed. You're drowning and he's the water. Please. I'll wait all night if I have to. And for the first time, I didn't say no. That evening, I told Ethan I needed to clear my head, that I wanted to walk by the lake. He studied me for a long moment, and I swear he could see the lie trembling in my throat. But then he kissed my forehead and said, Don't be long. Every step away from the apartment felt like pulling against invisible chains. My body expected him to appear at any moment, to drag me back. But somehow, I reached the cafe where Leo was waiting. The moment I saw him, I broke. He pulled me into a hug so tight it hurt, but the hurt felt good, real, grounding. Not the suffocating kind. I hadn't realized how much I missed the feeling of someone holding me without wanting to own me. You look like hell, Leo said bluntly. I feel like it. We sat in the corner, whispering like fugitives. I told him everything, the roses, the bracelet, the storm, the suffocating love that wrapped itself around my throat. Leo listened, his hands clenched into fists on the table. You can't stay, he said finally, his voice low and steady. He's not going to let you go. You have to take yourself back. I don't know how, I admitted, my chest tightening. It's like he's everywhere. Even when I'm not with him, he's in my head. That's how cages work, Leo said. But cages can be broken. The way he looked at me like I wasn't weak, like I was worth saving, lit something inside me. A spark I thought Ethan had smothered. But sparks are dangerous, because when I returned to the apartment, Ethan was waiting in the dark. Where were you? His voice was calm, too calm. I told you I went for a walk. By the lake. He leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Funny. I checked. Didn't see you there. My stomach dropped. He had followed me. Or worse, he had sent someone else. Ethan, don't lie to me, he snapped, his mask cracking. For the first time, I heard real anger in his voice. Who were you with? I swallowed hard. The silence stretched. My pulse pounded in my ears. Finally, I whispered, Leo. The name was a spark in a room full of gasoline. Ethan's face twisted, not with rage, but with something worse, betrayal. He staggered back like I had struck him. After everything I've given you, after everything I've done for you, you've done it for yourself. I shot back, surprising even myself. You don't love me. You just want to own me. The words hung between us like shards of glass. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then Ethan's expression softened, terrifyingly so. He stepped closer, cupped my face in his hands, and whispered, I don't want to own you. I just want to keep you safe. Why can't you see that? Because safety isn't supposed to feel like prison bars. But I didn't say it. Couldn't. Not yet. That night, he held me so tightly in bed I could barely breathe. And as I lay there, suffocating in his embrace, I realized the only way out was to choose it. No more hesitation. No more pretending. I had to leave. The plan formed slowly, carefully. I knew Ethan would watch me, would suspect every move. So I acted normal. I laughed at his jokes. I kissed him back. I wore the roses in vases like nothing was wrong. And all the while I waited. For the moment. for the chance, came sooner than I expected. Ethan left on a business trip 2 days, maybe 3. He kissed me at the door, pressed his forehead to mine, and whispered, "Don't forget me while I'm gone." The second the elevator doors closed, I grabbed a bag. Cash, clothes, my phone, the essentials. My hands shook as I stuffed them in, every second stretched tight with fear that the elevator would open again, that he'd walk back in. But he didn't. By the time I hit the street, my heart was a drumbeat of freedom and terror. I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was that I was going. And for the first time in months, the air tasted like air again. The first night away from Ethan, I didn't sleep. I stayed in a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind where the walls were thin and the neon sign buzzed like an insect outside the window. I lay on the stiff mattress, clutching my bag, waiting for the sound of his knock, his voice at the door, his arms dragging me back. But morning came and he didn't. Leo showed up instead. He brought coffee, a bag of clothes, and the kind of relief that nearly knocked me to my knees. "You did it," he said softly, handing me the cup. "I don't feel like I did," I admitted. My hands shook as I sipped. "I feel like he's still in the room, watching me." "He's not," Leo said firmly. "You're free now." But freedom didn't feel like sunlight. It felt like guilt, like fear, like an absence I couldn't stop touching. I wanted to cry. I wanted to go back. I wanted to never see him again. I was broken in 2 directions, and I didn't know which way to run. For 2 days I stayed with Leo. He gave me space, cooked me meals, even joked when I looked like I might fall apart. He never pushed, never demanded, never made me feel like his love was a debt I had to repay. It was terrifying in its simplicity. But of course it couldn't last. On the 3rd night, Ethan found me. I was walking home from the grocery store when a black car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, and there he was, perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Get in," he said. My feet froze. My body remembered him before my mind did. I clutched the grocery bag so tight the plastic cut into my skin. "I'm not going with you," I managed. My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. Ethan stepped out of the car. People passed on the sidewalk, glancing but not stopping. To them, we were just another couple having a fight. "You're making a mistake," he said softly, almost kindly. "You belong with me. You know it." "I don't belong to anyone," I snapped, though my hands were trembling. His smile faltered. For a moment, I saw the storm beneath the calm. "After everything I gave you, after everything we had, you're just going to throw it away." "It wasn't love," I said, my throat tight. "It was a cage, and I can't live in it anymore." The words cracked something open in him. His jaw clenched, his fists balled. For a heartbeat, I thought he would hit me, but then didn't. He just shook his head, eyes shining with a grief so raw it almost undid me. "You'll come back," he whispered. "They always come back." And then he was gone. The car disappeared into the night, and I stood there shaking, my groceries spilling onto the sidewalk. A stranger helped me pick them up, their kindness a small anchor against the tide of panic. When I returned to Leo's apartment, I collapsed into his arms. For the first time, I let myself sob, messy, unrestrained, years of hurt pouring out. Leo held me through all of it, whispering that I was safe, that it was over, that I had done the hardest thing already. But I knew it wasn't truly over. Not yet, because cages don't disappear just because you step outside. They live inside you, in the shadows of your mind, in the way you flinch at kindness, in the way love feels suspicious after it's been used as a weapon. The weeks that followed were a slow unlearning. I had to teach myself to answer the phone without fear, to walk down the street without glancing over my shoulder, to accept flowers from Leo without feeling like there were chains hidden in the petals. It wasn't easy. Some nights I woke up gasping, sure Ethan's arms were around me again. Some mornings I almost reached for my bracelet, forgetting it was gone. But slowly, life returned. Leo became my anchor, not because he saved me, but because he reminded me I could save myself. He never tried to replace Ethan, never demanded I love him back on his schedule. He just stayed. Patient, steady, real. And one night, months later, as we sat on his fire escape watching the city glow below us, I turned to him and whispered, "I think I'm ready." He didn't ask, "Ready for what?" He just leaned in, kissed me softly, and let me decide what it meant. It meant freedom. It meant love that didn't strangle. It meant air. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the bars of the golden cage crumble, leaving nothing but open sky. Ethan never came back. Or maybe he did, in the whispers of memory, in the lessons carved into my skin. But I wasn't his anymore. I was mine, and that was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.